We've got the new Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid.
Last year we had a chance to drive the turbo gas model, first time with the PHEV. Let's go for a spin. Shh, quiet. Well, I heard the gas engine come on.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is a hybrid after all. Andrea, what are we working with here?
A 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor, a combined 261 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It gets 51 kilometers, 32 miles of EV range, standard all-wheel drive, and you've got to put regular fuel in it.
We have a great question coming up about pricing in Questions, Coffee and Cars. Different trims in Canada and the US. What do you get in Canada with the base model trim?
The base trim in Canada comes with an 8-inch touchscreen and a 4.2-inch instrument cluster, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a wireless charger, leatherette heated front seats, 6-passenger seating with captain's chairs, heated steering wheel, smart power liftgate, 19-inch wheels, front and rear parking sensors, and blind spot monitoring and rear cross-traffic alert.
So they've gotten rid of the shifter, the regular shifter in this PHEV. It's now a dial shifter. What do we have to put it in?
You got to put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put out another couple car review on Saturday.
And please subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below. The thing about hybrids and electric cars, they all kind of drive the same.
They do. Very smooth, quiet cabin. There's a lot of torque from the electric motor. This thing goes up a hill, no trouble at all. I really like how this drives and handles.
Big differentiator between this and the RAV4 Prime, for example, that uses an eCVT or CVT. This uses a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission. I like when this reverts to hybrid, that conventional automatic feel. But this doesn't have as much power as the RAV4 Prime.
The RAV4 Prime has a combined 302 horsepower. This has got 261, and it has a little bit more, only 1 horsepower more than the Santa Fe PHEV.
I think that's just a typo. It's got to be a typo.
No, it's not
How
a
can
typo.
it have 1 horsepower more? Why would they do that?
I don't know. We've seen it in other models as well, where there's a little bit of a difference in horsepower and even torque.
So if you really want the
same
big...
with the EV range. The Santa Fe PHEV has less range.
If you really want all that extra power, Santa Fe might be for you. That 1 horsepower more, you might notice.
You just might.
So Andrea, it was almost exactly a year ago we had the Sorento gas model to drive, and we both liked the way it looks. Do you see much difference with this?
Not much of a difference. It still has its rugged, good looks like the gas model. It has a satin chrome grille and satin chrome accents throughout, along with standard 19-inch wheels.
It has this little kick-up chrome piece on the back window that seems kind of out of place.
Yeah. I'm
not sure exactly what they're going with that, but it's there. It doesn't bother me, just a strange kind of design choice. I like the look of the Sorento. I think it's a boxy look that people really gravitate towards. So we have the top SX trim here, and they have seats that I find kind of firm.
Yeah, me too, especially your back. It feels extremely firm. I don't find it as much where my butt is, but definitely the back.
All right, now it still has this faux quilted look on the dash and on the door cards. I kind of like it. At first, last year, remember when we had it, I thought, well, maybe because that one had all the diamond stitching.
Yeah.
This one, it's a nice contrast.
Well, there is hard plastic throughout, and that piece is also hard plastic, but I think that it's quite nice because you've added some more details, and the materials work well together. You've got some hard plastic, you've got different textures and soft materials used throughout. Now, it does come with a lot of standard features. One up from the base model, that EX Plus trim in Canada. It's where you'll find the panoramic sunroof, heated rear seats, and the 10.25-inch touchscreen.
You know what I'm loving over here, Andrea?
What do you
A
love?
fully height adjustable passenger seat. We had the RAV4 Prime recently.
Yeah.
Even on that very spendy top model we had, it didn't have height adjustable. This
No.
isn't just height adjustable, it's power operated. Well done, Kia. Now, I just want to talk about one thing. There is no traditional shifter. We mentioned that in the gas review, that it has a traditional shifter versus Santa Fe, for example, that has the push button.
Yeah.
Now they've gone to a rotary dial, and the investigating we're doing is it's really only in this model.
Well, for this year anyway, I don't know if the Sorento gas model next year will move to a dial shifter. Who's to know? I do hope that they keep a traditional shifter in one so that people have the option. I think that would be nice. This top trim that we're test driving, Zach, this is where you get that 12.3-inch digital driver display. I know you don't care about them.
Don't care.
But you may care about driver's seat memory and ventilated front seats. Well,
Yeah,
not
I don't like
Zach,
that, no.
but anybody living in a hot climate wants ventilated front seats. And if you want a head-up display too, it's all in that top trim.
All right, speaking of seats, second row, we're going to touch on this more in Questions, Coffee, and Cars, is only available with captain's chairs in the second row. But there's quite a bit of room back there. It's really comfortable and a perfectly flat floor in the second row.
Moving to the third row, it is a bit tight back there. I think it's good for smaller kids. The issue is that the floor sits up a little bit higher, so my knees are up at my chest, which isn't the most comfortable. I could handle it for a short trip. Otherwise, you've got to put a child back there.
Okay, we've touched on that, but when you combine it with the very limited cargo space, so carry-on and a cooler, as you can see with the third row up, it's really quite small.
This offers 12.6 cubic feet of space back there. Our cooler did not fit. I couldn't close the door, but what you can fit are 2 carry-on bags, and I could easily close the door on that. It is pretty tight.
So look at this vehicle as a 4+2.
Keep in mind this Sorento PHEV has no direct competitors. There are no PHEVs that offer a third row. Of course, the Outlander PHEV coming next year will have a third row.
Now let's continue the discussion about the inside with your questions.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
I get confused on rebates. As best I could see in Nova Scotia, we get $2,500 for it provincially. Does that mean federally we get that $5,000 as well? Not sure when they say electric in general versus PHEV versus all electric. It is true. It's very confusing. So let's just break it all down.
So yes, if there's a rebate in your province, like we have here in BC, good news in Nova Scotia, you get an additional amount. So the federal rebate applies to all vehicles that qualify. And how do you qualify? Well, the manufacturer has to have one trim, just one trim that starts under $45,000. That's why you'll see all PHEVs and electric cars start at $44,995. And if you hit that number, then you can get up to $5,000 in credit, but it all depends on the size of the battery.
The battery has to be 15 kilowatt hour or more to qualify for the $5,000 rebate. This Sorento PHEV has a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery, so it only qualifies for the $2,500 rebate. Something like the RAV4 Prime has a 18.1 kilowatt hour battery, and the new Mitsubishi Outlander that's coming out next year has a 20 kilowatt hour battery. So both of those vehicles get the $5,000 rebate.
On top of the money that your province is giving you. So that's where it starts to stack up. So it looks like the most you could get probably right now in Nova Scotia is about $5,000 federally and provincially added together.
That's right. My mom just bought a Tucson PHEV and she went through this and she was also confused. She thought that that base price under $45,000 is the only trim that got the rebate. That's not the case. As long as the base trim starts at under $45,000, all trims qualify for the rebate. Are they only offering it with the captain's chairs? If so, that's a hard pass with 3 kids, as we would like to maximize our cargo capacity in the back.
It's tough. You know what? It's the same problem we ran into with the gas model of this. So if you get the gas model with the turbocharged engine, which is the one we liked, you don't get a second row with a bench seat. You have to go to these captain's chairs, which turns your utility into just a 6-passenger. And the other thing with this, if you've got 3 kids, to be honest with you, this is going to be tight because the back cargo area with one of those seats or all the seats up is really small.
I do think that this is a mistake, and you are not opening it up to all different sizes of families. So it's not that convenient.
It's limiting. It's very limiting.
How does the price compare to others in this class?
Well, we do have a segment coming up called For Your Consideration, where we look at the main competitors, the price, their horsepower, all that.
Yeah.
But you have some extra numbers, extra super numbers.
I have some extra super numbers. So in the US, this price point, because you only get 2 trims, is quite high. We have 3 trims, so we have that base trim. It's very
Why do they have
competitive.
that base trim, Andrea? Because they had to get the price under $45,000.
Yeah.
You see the game they're playing? They're using our tax dollars to help you buy a car.
In the US, it is pricier. That SX trim, that's kind of like your base trim, which is more like our middle trim in Canada, is higher than the RAV4 Prime, the Santa Fe PHEV, as well as the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. In Canada, it's quite competitive.
But wait for it. For your consideration, still to come. But right now, it's time for the hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
I prefer a PHEV over an all-electric. It makes sense for me and no range anxiety. Enough all-electric range for daily use. How does this powertrain feel compared to the RAV4 Prime? Is it as peppy with a regular 6-speed automatic and smaller turbo engine?
Well, we kind of touched on it already, Andrea. It doesn't have as much power as the RAV4 Prime, but it's very drivable in everyday situations.
I mean, you couldn't hear anything there. The gas engine did come on a bit. We have it in hybrid mode, but it is so smooth and quiet, which is what we would expect from an electrified vehicle. And you get the same in the RAV4 Prime. This is a great compromise. It has pretty good range. We do find that we really eat up that range quickly. So you obviously have to be prepared to plug it in each time you get home, which I think people who are buying PHEVs are willing to do.
The problem I have with this technology is every year or so there's going to be a new model with more range. We've touched on it already. The Outlander PHEV in the Japanese testing cycle is 87 kilometers of EV range. The problem is it's like a smartphone upgrade. Do you buy the current phone or do you wait 6 months to get the new latest model? It's the same thing with this. Do you buy this one or do you wait to get that Outlander? Then the Outlander comes out. Then the RAV4 gets more range. Like you're kind of stuck in this wheel.
Then you've got to ask the question, what is the resale value going to be on these types of vehicles with lower range? I mean, we don't have the answers to it, but definitely it's a conversation to have. And I wonder how this is all going to play out.
For example, that Outlander we talked about, the current one gets 38 kilometers of range. The new one's going to get double that. So what's that going to do to the value of the current one? Is anybody going to want that one? I don't know.
Plus, it's a 7-seater, and that one's a 5-seater.
That's
so
the problem.
I wonder. When we look at the price of a gas model of this Sorento versus this PHEV, top trim to top trim, there is an $8,000 difference. But with all of the rebates, for us, for example, in British Columbia, and then the federal rebate, we can bring it down to about $50,000.
And we touched on it already. What else can you buy in the PHEV game?
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. It has a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor, a combined 221 horsepower, and 39 kilometers, 24 miles of EV range. It has a starting price of just over $44,000. There is a new Outlander PHEV coming out next year with more range. The unofficial range is up to 87 kilometers.
Next is the Toyota RAV4 Prime with a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine and an electric motor, a combined 302 horsepower, but with 68 kilometers or 42 miles of EV range. It starts at just under $45,000.
The Hyundai Santa Fe PHEV with a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder and an electric motor, a combined 260 horsepower and 50 kilometers, 30 miles of EV range. It has a starting price of just over $47,000.
The Hyundai Tucson PHEV with a 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder with an electric motor, a combined 261 horsepower and 53 kilometers or 33 miles of EV range. A starting price of $43,500. So there are 4 plug-in hybrids for you to consider. All right, let's get into the range, the cost, the price, the warranty, vital stats.
Let's start with pricing. The EX base model trim starts at just under $45,000, and the top SX trim is just under $55,000. JD Power has not rated the Kia Sorento PHEV yet, but the gas model gets an overall score of 81 out of 100 and a quality and reliability score of 77 out of 100. CarEdge states the Kia Sorento will retain 45% of its value after 5 years. With a 240-volt outlet, your charging time on this Sorento is 3.4 hours.
This PHEV has a combined city and highway rating of 2.9 liters equivalent per 100 kilometers. That's 70 miles per gallon equivalent. With the battery depleted, it gets 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 7 liters on the highway. That's 35 miles per gallon city, 33 miles per gallon highway. Towing capacity is 2,000 pounds. The warranty is 5 years, 100,000 kilometers, or 60,000 miles. Lightning round. 2 things we like to see improved.
I love the technology in here and the ease of use.
I like the fact that Hyundai and Kia are bringing so many of these new technology vehicles to market.
I wish there was an option of having a bench seat in the second row so you could have a 7-passenger vehicle.
And they can't really change anything about it, but the cargo space behind the third row, she's tight.
Smooth and quiet, this Sorento PHEV is a real winner in my book.
What I'm most impressed with is the pressure that Hyundai and Kia are putting on the competition. It's good for everyone. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below.